Welcome to this week's Facebook Live at Spark Homeschool Parent. We have a great conversation today. I think a lot of you are going to find this exciting. Are you anxious about the financial sacrifices that you'll have to make if you quit your full-time job in order to educate your children at home? It is a great sacrifice, and you're going to enjoy our conversation today. Do you think that homeschooling your children is too expensive? We're going to be talking more about that also. I want to welcome you to how can we afford to homeschool? I know that's a question that a lot of people who are deciding at this point whether they are to bring their children home from school or to start homeschooling when they're young. It's a question that a lot of us ask. How can we afford? How can we afford this? School is free. I can get a full-time job and we can have two incomes. But when you decide to educate your children at home, one of you may have to quit your job. You may have to support your family on a single income or maybe part-time incomes, whatever the situation is. It's a question that a lot of us ask when we decide to educate our children at home. So that's what we're going to be tackling today. My name is Diana Rolston. I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, we openly discuss some of these fears, some of these questions that we have about educating our children at home. We're going to be talking today about the importance of committing to at least 3 years of homeschooling. You may think that you're just committing to 1 year. Maybe you just want to test out homeschooling till Christmas, whatever your situation. We're going to be talking about the importance of doing a little bit longer term commitment and how that fits in financially. We're also going to be talking about the significance of knowing why, just hanging on to that purpose of why you're homeschooling. You're going to question again and again throughout the months and years that you're educating your children at home. It's really important to know why you're homeschooling. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And you are in the right place. You're going to enjoy our conversation. If you are wondering how to get your children involved in your family financial vision, there are so many benefits to educating your children at home. I have 3 children that I homeschooled through to the end of high school. My guest also homeschooled her 3 children. And we know the many, many benefits of educating our children at home. But it may seem like this is a huge financial sacrifice. You may think the sacrifice is too great. And that homeschooling costs a lot of money. But my guest will help you refocus, gain control, and set a path on this homeschooling journey. I'm really excited to introduce my guest. She is a financial wholeness and community wellness coach. Along her journey, she spent many years homeschooling her 3 children and enhancing their curriculum by using technology and art and imagination to help them learn. Today, she actively coaches individuals, families, and micro business owners to, like I said, refocus, gain control, and make a plan that leads them to the success that they're looking for. She's also a mentor in the coach training organization, Coach Connections, and a leader in the accountable networks of coaches. She offers the Money Mavericks game and coaching programs that are designed to equip youth and young adults with a holistic overview of how money works and how to make it work for them. I'm really excited to welcome my guest, Kathy Steffan. Let's let her in here. Thanks very much for joining us. I think you might be on mute there.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Sorry, my dog was barking.
Oh, we love dogs. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I really think I'm really excited because you are one of the perfect people to talk to about how to think about finances when we're considering homeschooling. I've said that this Facebook Live is for those that are thinking about homeschooling but have this question, but also some of the things that we're going to be talking about are going to be very beneficial for people, families at any stage of their homeschooling journey.
Yeah.
What I wanted to start off with, you have some great advice, and I mentioned it, about committing to 3 years of homeschooling. That may seem a little overwhelming for some when they're just like toying with the idea still, but tell us why you think that's an important step.
So first of all, it's not my idea. When I wanted to homeschool, or I was toying with the idea of homeschooling, I had a very wise friend tell me I had to commit to 3 years. And I'm like, okay, but when you get that 3-year plan going, what it allows you is a lot of freedom. Gives you that first year to not worry about jumping through any hoops. It's a chance to learn about your kids. And I found a lot of my character flaws came out that first year because you got these kids 24/7 and some things slip out, right? They have character flaws and you need to relearn, especially if you're pulling them out of a public system or something, you need to learn who they are again and what they love to do. So if you have that 3-year plan, you don't have to reach that goal for another 2 more years. That just really eases up the pressure on you to enjoy your children and to experiment. When you're, experimenting is a great thing to do in that first year. Second year is when you actually can start honing in on how your kids, how are they wired? How do they learn? What works for you? What do you need? And that's the year you actually start looking at buying things, maybe testing out other things, but borrow what you can. And the third year is when things just start clicking and it's enjoyable. So instead of being in that grind and deciding I'm done because I can't do anything the governing bodies say I have to do, you say, no, I'm gonna get it by third year. Like, give me some grace. So it just really makes homeschooling nice. And then you're committed and your kids can get patterns and you can figure out what's good for you.
That's filled with such great advice. I also just want to point out that you are in Alberta, in Canada, and homeschooling regulations are quite different in Alberta than they are here in Ontario. So we don't have that governing body looking over a lot of what we do, but as they do, I know, in Alberta. But lots of pros and cons to both.
Yeah, and so, sometimes the governing body is yourself, right? You have these goals, like I want my preschooler learn to read within a year. Well, maybe it's not going to happen. So just loosening up on those. So whatever it is that's driving those end results you're wanting, to lengthen that timeline a little bit, so you have the grace to just go play in the backyard and go check out a dandelion and dissect whatever the heck they feel like dissecting, right? Instead of having to go through that curriculum you bought.
Yeah, that's often one of the first questions that people ask. I did a quick poll on our Spark Homeschool Parent just to see some different ideas about how people save money, and that was number one. A lot of people borrow curriculum, get it handed down to them, or get it from the library. That's a big money saver. So this question that a lot of people are going to be asking as they're making this decision to educate their children at home, how can I afford to homeschool if we're down to one income?
Yeah, so basically you can do pretty much anything you want in our North American world if you have a plan. If you figure out where you are, you can put out any fires, you can gain control of your spending, gain control of your priorities, kind of identify that, and you set a plan. So if you're going from a 3 income down to a 1 income, or a 2 income down to a 1 income, you're going to have to know what it is you're doing with your money right now. You have to look at it, say, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice for this thing that's more important to me? So you need to know, that's what you talked about, the why. Why are you doing this? What is this thing, this homeschooling, going to bring you? What pain is it stopping? What rewards are you looking for? And you need to hold tight to that, because you are going to have to look at those numbers and say, okay, am I giving up my hair coloring? Am I giving up my fingernails? Am I, well, not literally, but the nail polish thing. Am I giving up our Disneyland adventure idea? Because there is an opportunity cost here. It is going to cost you something to homeschool. It's going to cost you something to not homeschool. So you have to really look at what's the cost here, what are the benefits, and then your plan is what's going to really bring you through that. Is how are we going to do this, and as a family talk together, and this is what our goal is. But you need to really grab hold of, wow, I want kids that really can think for themselves, and I want kids that enjoy being with me, or I want to have the freedom to do whatever is their passion, right? There's all kinds of a bazillion reasons for homeschooling. Mm-hmm. So you need to know what those are, and they need to be deep in your heart as to, this is why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we will question that, as you know, also, over and over and over again. And then when our girlfriends ask us to go out for lunch, sorry, I can't right now.
Right. And I tell our clients, it's not a no, it's a not now. Right? It's because I enjoy going to movies. I enjoy doing all kinds of things, but for this season, I'm putting it on pause because this is more important. My kids are more important to me right now. My family relationships more important. My work-life balance, whatever. So it's not a no and a never. It's a pause. Let's pause on that, right? And that's easier sometimes to get your head around.
Yeah. So that's the refocus. Like, let's just refocus. Let's write down and brainstorm with your partner about why we're doing this homeschooling thing, the importance of it, our goals in the end, refocus. And that's where you start, eh? And then gain control.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just going to back up just a sec. That refocus part, you can bring the kids in on this. So absolutely get the kids involved with the why. Why are we doing this? What's the benefits? What do you want to do if we homeschool? And if you can make it visual for yourselves and for them, so a vision board, some kind of a bulletin board with all kinds of pictures, a little whatever, a graph, however you want to do it. Make it visual in their face, but include them. So they can grab hold of it too. So yeah, gain control is going to be different for each person, right? Everybody has their own stuff, and you're going to like some of your stuff and not like some of your stuff. So the easiest stuff to work with is the stuff you don't like first. But it is kind of, where's your money going? Okay, let's point it in the right direction. Let's decide what's our priorities. And learn to say no and set some boundaries, and maybe even I've worked with clients to make scripts for the in-laws that keep asking for things that really you should say no to. Right? So having that gaining control of your relationships, of your time, of your finances, all your resources, really, that's the part that's kind of mucky. You're getting your feet dirty and you're going to dig up a few things, but you can address those. And when you have that control, now you have the power to make that plan, and you can build on that plan, and you can go so much farther because you know what you're doing.
Maybe expand a little bit on set that plan. That's setting that 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
Right. Yeah. So there's definitely the goals, the why am I doing it plan, for sure. So the why plan. There's also the financial plan, right? Because in our world, we live in a world that's extremely marketed to and very spontaneous, and they love you to not think about what you spend your money on. And if you need to have a plan for that money. You need to have a plan for, when I walk into Walmart, I'm going to only buy these things, and to help myself not buy any more, this is my plan. You need to say, I'm only going to spend $50 on curriculum first year because we're going to see if this even works, right? I'm going to spend $500 on this curriculum we've been saving up for because it looks amazing, right? You need to know what's important and then make a plan. And where's that money coming from? How are you going to do that? Are you going to sacrifice something? Are you going to get some more income somehow? Are you going to borrow it? Are you going to, do a side hustle? Whatever you want. But you need to have, this is what I want. This is how much it costs. Here's how we're going to accommodate that money. And when you have that plan, now you don't have to go get the credit cards out and end up with surprises at the end of every month.
I like your example of saving up for a $500 curriculum, because if that first year is just identifying your children's strengths, weaknesses, and sort of setting out what you're going to be doing in homeschooling, then and not just quickly going and buying that $500 curriculum because you really don't know what you're doing in the beginning.
Right.
So
Yeah.
setting that.
I'm sure you know, and I've been homeschooled a long time ago, but I have an awful lot of stuff in my cupboards. We made it through chapter 2, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is not working for my kids. And a lot of money went out, wasted a lot of money on that. So yeah, definitely it's year 1 is an experiment year. Public library is your best friend. Go hit every homeschool thing and kind of find people that will give you stuff, loan you stuff, share, co-ops, whatever. Try everything. And if you get more than one kid, I can guarantee you they do not learn the same way. So you're going to have to figure out how to make that work for you.
Yeah. I want to encourage people to check out their local homeschool associations. In Ottawa here, we have the Rideau Valley Home Educators Association, which has their own library. And many, many curriculums are available to be borrowed through that. So I can imagine that that's similar in many areas through Canada, United States, and probably throughout the world.
Yeah, so there's definitely, in where we're from in Alberta, there's definitely whichever organization you're with, some of them have curriculum libraries. Our public library has a ton of stuff. Online, there's a ton of stuff. And then just the social aspect. You're going to learn to find other homeschoolers and find some that have older kids than you. And I know I passed all my math UC on to someone who was 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Their kids were younger. Like, here, might as well. Right? There's lots of ways to do that.
And we're so happy to do that too. You were talking also about the importance of having that conversation with our children when we're starting to homeschool, or if we haven't had that conversation before and you are in the midst of educating your children at home, how important it is to include our children in that decision and ask them what they want to be learning. And also that they are committed to just part of these discussions about finances, family finances.
Yeah, and you can do a cost benefit for them too, right? Draw it up in a little sheet of paper, pros, cons. Okay, what's the good things about homeschooling? What's the bad things about homeschooling? You can talk about their fears. You can talk about their excitements. You can talk about, well, if you didn't have to do this subject over here that you're currently struggling, what would you do instead? So it's a great conversation to get them excited. I know as my kids got older, we're kind of like, you need to make a commitment here. What are you, we have conversations about, this is what we expect of you. And they might say what they expect of us, right? There's all kinds of that stuff there.
And then they're committed also to the sacrifices that are necessary to continue on educating at home. We had a conversation before this live, and you were talking about setting the appetites of our children. Maybe you can expand on that.
Sure. Yeah. So I read it in a book a while back, several years back, but it was a really interesting concept, and it was in a financial discussion situation of as we're raising our children, if we want to empower them to also have a single income family, because you'd like to see this legacy of homeschooling carried on, or one parent being able to stay home with their kids. If you want that ability in them, we have to be really careful as we're raising them. What are we teaching them about spending, about holidays, about possessions? So for example, we chose to do cross-country skiing as a family. We live like where you need to know some snow sport, because you can do it really cheap, right? As opposed to downhill skiing, which is extremely expensive. But if you get a kid who's hooked on downhill skiing and they grow up and move out, well, they're going to want to homeschool, or they're going to want to downhill ski because they're used to it. That's their normal. Same with if you take them to Disney all the time. If you do Europe trips. If you like, what are you teaching them? Do you have every single subscription on that you can possibly get for movies? Or do you want to teach them now? Let's choose one. We can do one for 6 months. Let's watch that one as much as we can, and let's move to the next one so that you're being more economical. You're teaching them that, what, I don't have to have it all. Maybe that one Disney trip is something you work together as a family, and you save up, and they watch that saving, and you watch the little thermometer go up, and like, yay, we finally hit a goal. That's a very different appetite than, hey guys, we're going to Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to watch how you're teaching your kids, because it's not only going to affect you financially, it's going to affect them when they're older. When they're in their 20s, they're going to want all that stuff right now. They very rarely think, oh, it took my parents 30 years to get that. They want it now.
Yeah, so important to remember. Thanks for sharing that. You also mentioned at the beginning of our conversation about this, I was going to use the word mentor that you had, who shared this information with you, very valuable information to just have in mind that you're going to be homeschooling for 3 years. I just want to put it out there that we all, especially in the homeschooling community, we need a community of people, like-minded people and mentors. If you have the blessing of a mentor, it's not always easy, but to go through some of these fears and questions that people have. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that, the importance of a community and mentors for great information.
Yeah. And that is something, I think, especially with COVID, a lot of people have lost their communities and lost their mentors, and not necessarily physically, but you've just become separated, right? It's harder to get connected. But in homeschool, it's so nice because generally the ones I've met, the homeschoolers like each other, right? So go find some. Go find a mom that you like to, want to complain with, but also who will push you to stop complaining and get going. The ones that when you're having a crummy day with your kids, you have to say, hey, help me out here. Hey, let's swap kids. There's all kinds of things you need to have that community to really bolster you when it's harder, and when to celebrate. Like it's not fun celebrating all by yourself.
Yeah.
So have people to celebrate with.
Yeah, I'm thinking also if we connect that back to the appetites of your children, generally homeschool families are living on single incomes. So we're sort of all in the same boat, that we're not all packing up and going down to Florida a couple times a year or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and absolutely. And a nice mix is good, but it's nice. It's good when the kids see familiar of like, oh, okay, you don't get to buy Lucky Charms either. Okay, we don't either.
Yeah.
So they need to commiserate together. It's great.
That's funny. I want to give you the opportunity. You have some great courses that you do through Money Mavericks and some other companies that you have. Can you share with us? I love that you target different age groups and also families.
Yeah. So Money Mavericks is a branch of, so I'm Steffan Consulting and we do the coaching, but Money Mavericks is very specifically for junior high age, high school age, like those ones that are wanting to move out or go to post-secondary. We have a program for them. We also have a young entrepreneur program. So if you've got someone in your household that's got an itch to make money and it's got that entrepreneur brain, we have a program for them. And then we actually bundle it all together for families, because there's something about families who grow together. If you're kind of struggling financially, you're like, I could never teach my kids finances. Well, do it as a family, because it's great. It's empowering. We equip you. We cheer you on. We teach you those skills. We help you with your goals, that kind of thing. It's a great way for kids to learn, but if like you don't want to be lapped by your kids. So if you don't know either, it's great to get in on that family thing. And then we are doing on Ottawa. I don't know where she is. Sophie is doing a live program. So I'm actually streaming in and she's supervising so that the kids can learn in that community. So it's group done as a group, and they all learn together. And the details we can get, if you want to connect with me, we can get you the details. But you can do it online or you can do it in person this year. I'm really excited because the in person has not happened before. So we're gonna let those kids talk to each other. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and you do it in a game, or you have that as an option?
So Money Mavericks itself there's a game called Money Mavericks, and it is based out of the U.S., but the principles are all the same. So we use it in Canada as well. And this is the junior level. So the juniors get to have this game. They get to play this game. It's a chance. They get to do adult decisions and see the consequences of adult decisions. So they can go bankrupt if they don't use their thing wisely. They get to play with a credit card in there. They get to open a business, and all their decisions will make or break them as far as how they do in the game. So we use that game as the tool to get them thinking, to get them to see some consequences, so cause and effects of their decisions. And then there's a coaching program that goes with it. So they play the game up to a certain point. Then we get a session. It's usually in a group situation, and we all talk about, okay, what'd you do? Who likes their character? What'd your character do? Did you buy the cat or did you get the fish? And we talk about what's going on in the game. And in that process, they're learning how to budget. They're learning about interest rate. They're learning about debt. They're learning about all kinds of these adult things that normally you couldn't experience until you're like out in the world getting burnt. So it's really exciting. So that's the game that goes with the coaching program.
With the coaching. And thank you, Sophie. Sophie's listening in now, and she sent some information about that. I'm also going to put the link in if there are homeschooling families out there that want to join in that. And that starts in September, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we got a start date yet, but definitely contact Sophie or myself, and we'll be able to connect you with that. And the website, moneymavericks.ca, tells you all about Money Mavericks, those youth programs that we have available. They're from what's called the Accountable Network, and that's an international group of coaches that all collaborate to build things like these programs so that we all can get better.
That sounds so engaging and exciting, and an exciting way. Like, money management is such an important issue that a lot of young adults and teens don't have the opportunity to learn. So thanks for providing that. If somebody's listening to the replay, they can always go to Money Mavericks also and see when another course comes up. So thank you so much, and I'll put those links in the comments so everyone can take a look at that. Thanks very much, Kathy.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us at Spark Homeschool Parent. My commitment is to provide an encouraging, non-judgmental community where we can share our questions, our fears, our doubts about homeschooling. If you're looking for a community of like-minded parents who believe that educating their children at home is the best choice for their family, join us at the Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it if you have enjoyed this conversation, that you pass it on to a friend. Because if you've enjoyed the conversation, no doubt you have friends that would benefit from this conversation also. And remember to like and subscribe, and that as homeschoolers, we can help our children find that spark that ignites their learning. Thanks again, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.